Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday! The victorious New Jersey Devils. They are a bunch of savages, absolute savages, beating the Capitals, just beating the Lightning.
Wow.
Two great teams. We're a bunch of savages that our GM is gone. He's gone. Parted ways is what they say. I love those press releases, how neutral it is, but there were differences, all that stuff. Welcome to the Let's Go Devils podcast. Back from PJ Ryan's. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Scotty from SiriusXM Liquid Metal XL. To the left, in the middle, you have Beer Baron,
Hi.
comedian, teacher, bodyguard, and father.
Wow.
Yeah, father. Yeah, yep.
Wow, that last one is very good. We'll applaud you for that one. Good job over there.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Well, welcome to the Let's Go Devils podcast. You can find us on Facebook Live, Twitter Periscope, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Sorry for the plugs, guys. Get to it. Scotty, you're the only one that actually did notes this week. So we'll start off with you since Beer Baron and I are unprepared.
Okay.
Hey, that's
fair enough.
No. That's a false statement. I'm always prepared. It's just a level
You're
of
prepared because I told you everything just before we went on. I think that's what it is.
Sure. That's why when I broke the news, you were like, whoa, what happened?
Well, you broke the news. You're breaking the news over here. Is that what you're doing? Whoa.
Yeah, let's
Henry,
jump.
Henry, this guy's breaking the news over here. Henry, come on.
Go get the papers. I'm going to go get the papers.
Anyways,
the papers. Let's jump right into this because...
Well, let's get into it. You know what? Just for a big roundabout, just for everybody, because I see everybody talking about a bunch of different topics on the Facebook page already. But yes, we're going to try and hit onto all of them because it's been a crazy week for Devils hockey. Obviously, 4 games this week. We did really well. 2 wins.
Dude, there's 6-2 in their last 10.
One bad loss, but we're going to talk about all of them. I thought there was, positive things in every single game. So we're going to go over all that. lots of transactions going on with Mac Black being out, Corey coming back, Brad is back, Hughes is back, Palms is out. So we're going to have to touch on that subject as well. But obviously, the big news, the shocking news today, Ray Shero no longer the GM of the New Jersey Hockey Devils, and Tom Fitzgerald is now interim with our man, the greatest goaltender of all time, Marty Brodeur. Now, I believe he's in an assistant role.
Yeah, he's basically I forget the proper term that they use, like essentially like a liaison for hockey.
Well, he's over here now.
Like,
he's over here now.
Here. I got the knowledge. You need to know something. Like, no.
Before I was in St. Louis, and now I'm over here in Jersey. That's what I do. I'm over here now.
But
I'm over here with him.
Yeah. So Tom Fitzgerald has been promoted. What's up, Sam? We see you popped in. Usually you pop in for something good. What's up? And you're muted. You're
muted, Sam.
Way to go.
Yeah, I see that Tim Clark Callahan is in the chat room, and I've had suspicions that he is Ray Shero's burner account. So we'll definitely find out tonight what happened.
Oh yeah,
hey, guys.
That's true.
What happened,
Tim?
All right, guys.
Tim Clark Callahan,
on
fan
the Facebook
favorite.
page. Look for hints. Look for hints. Subtle messages. He's like the Riddler.
He's cursed,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
But anyways,
no.
basically, we'll get. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. What I was going to say is, well, Marty being primed. This has kind of been one of those things that has Marty been getting ready for this opportunity. Which, listen, from all accounts, by the the owners of the team, they basically said, like, when they released their statement, is over the next few weeks and next few months, they're going to have a very thorough search of who they want to be the next GM.
All right.
I am absolutely.
And coach.
Wait, somebody said my beer baron, the promise was fulfilled on Tuesday. See, I told you, Matt. That's awesome. But anyways, for those of you that don't know, last podcast we told Matt, Sam was doing a live podcast. We said, go up, get yourself on air, and it worked. Anyways, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. We were all together. Obviously, a bunch of our friends were together. You were kind of there on a computer screen, as in technology. Wonderful.
You guys immediately turned me off very quick. I noticed that. It was just like, later, Scotty. Boom, computer screen down.
That was
like, oh, okay. Nice to see you, gentlemen.
I put on pants
nice.
for this.
I put on shorts. It's California. But I'll tell you, I mean, honestly, I was shocked by the news today. Because, in my mind, the beginning of the season was a disaster. And now they have finally, it seems like they've sort of righted the ship. And the team is playing as a team together. They are a fun team to watch. You're literally seeing Nico Hischier become a man on the ice and become the leader of this team.
And he climbs up.
Yeah, and honestly, we're as Devils fans, of course, we're not exactly where we want to be right now, but I feel like we're trending in the right direction. As I just said, the team is actually fun to watch. It's not like, oh man, Devils game again. We gotta, how are they gonna screw this one up? They're fun. They're exciting. They're playing hard. They're playing with grit. And I was shocked that Ray, because he's built this core. And we're going to get even more next year, maybe with some of these defensemen coming up. But I was a little shocked at this timing, not only for that whole perspective, but I mean, trade deadline, if we're going to be out of it, if we're going to be sellers, and then you lose your GM. I don't know. It just seems like very odd timing, The only thing I can think of is just maybe the owners felt like he hung on to John Hines too long. Maybe if they pulled that trigger a little earlier in the season, maybe if they didn't hang on to Taylor Hall as well, the distractions and all that. And that's actually another thing we got to talk about. When the team in the beginning of the season seemed like they were distracted by everything that was going on. Now it's like GM got fired. Yeah, whatever. We're going to take down Tampa Bay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Nothing seems to face these guys now all of a sudden, which is awesome to see this new leadership and that new confidence growing. But still, I don't know, man. It just seemed like very odd timing, and I kind of like the direction that the team is in, the way they are right now. If they could finish the season around 500, what are they like? I think they're 4 games under now, 5 games under. If they finish the season around 500, they make it up in these next couple months. I'll be happy with that progress from where they started out to where they ended. Yeah, I'll take that. And next year they're going to get even better. But I've been rambling here and ranting, so I want to give you a chance to do the same, bro. So tell me your take on this.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of weird, and I'm like looking over trying to read or keep up with what everybody is saying, and I can't remember the name of whoever said it, and I apologize, but somebody said, why do it now? This is kind of surprising. Why do it now and not when they were in the midst of losing? And Benny in the Facebook group just said, nothing surprises me anymore. And I feel kind of the same way. This team was like I don't know if you would say he did a horrible job. I know there's some people that are like, good, I'm glad he's fired, good riddance. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you, just what I don't know if I disagree or agree with it. I don't think the Taylor Hall situation was handled very well. If you had an inclination or if you had to know that he was not going to sign or he didn't have any kind of desire of signing with the team, I probably would have tried to move him over the summer instead of, or at least in the beginning of the year instead of, when this season started. I don't know how much value you would have gotten for him just because of the knee injury and all that kind of stuff. You just can't. This is like I wasn't expecting this, to say the least, because it doesn't feel like he's done a horrible job. And there's some people that will point to the farm system. There's some decent prospects that are coming up. I don't know if there's just like maybe he didn't see eye to eye with ownership. I don't know if there were certain moves. I don't know if it was like maybe he was just done and didn't want to do it. Maybe he wasn't putting in the effort anymore. There's a lot of stuff that us as fans will never know because it's all behind the door stuff or behind the scenes stuff. He could have gotten into a fight with one of the owners over something stupid, and then the owner held a grudge against him, and then boom, you're fired. Or it could have been something less serious. Yeah. Or it could have been something less serious, or it could have been, the way he handled certain players, and maybe that the owners have like an affinity for certain players. Whatever the case may be, it is now going to be a way more interesting season, right? Like you nailed it on the head. This team is playing a much better brand of hockey of late. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. They just beat 2 of the best teams in the NHL, and didn't just beat them. They controlled both of those games. Like they're under Naz. You see this team buying into a system, buying into a way of playing. Everybody contributing, and not just on a score sheet, but everybody like buying into what they need to do. Defensively against the Rangers, I mean, they looked like a hot pile of garbage. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. So there's room for improvement, but I wonder if Tom Fitzgerald is going to be given the green light to make moves. I wonder if Fitzgerald is going to be given the green light to be like, hey, trade deadline, the trade deadline's coming up. Here's the keys to the car. Start doing whatever you have to do. Or are they going to say, don't do anything, and then just we're going to see if you're the guy or we're going to bring somebody else in? So that's going to be another thing that's super interesting because the trade deadline is a month away?
Yeah. That's why I'm saying it's really odd time to replace someone in that, I don't know. I mean, Tom Fitzgerald has done everything. Well, he was the GM of the AHL team, and then he was assistant coach for a while, and then now he's assistant GM, now he's the head GM. So I guess if anyone could do it, it's Tom Fitzgerald. So good luck to him. I hope he does something well. I hope they don't blow up this farm system, though, that Ray has built. I understand Devils fans are upset. We haven't won a lot. We had the 1 year with Taylor Hall where we made it to the playoffs and we got smoked. But, I really think we're set up pretty well for the next couple years with Jack Hughes and with Nico Hischier and with Kyle Palmieri. I'd still say the jury may be out on, Pavel Zacha, but let's see what these defensemen coming up as well. I thought Ray had the team going in the right direction. I understood that we were going to do a complete and utter rebuild makeover starting from a couple years ago. And those things usually take a little while. There's no denying that. So I don't know.
So do you think
I was kind of happy, but you know what? To get to my point, to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, is maybe you're right in the sense that if he knew Taylor Hall wasn't going to resign, maybe he should have tried to trade him in the summer or something like that. And maybe he hung on to him too long. And the same thing with John Hines. They saw that they weren't responding to the system. They gave him time. They gave him too much time. What happens if Ray pulled the plug a little bit earlier and made this coaching change on the season? Could that have fixed everything? Let the team loosen up, and maybe Taylor Hall would still be on the. Maybe the owners saw it as that Ray just waits too long to make moves. Maybe that's what it was. They see how the team is playing now, and they're like, well, if we had the whole month of November and most of December playing like this, maybe we wouldn't be in such a bad position. And maybe the owners can sell some playoff game seats and tickets and all that sort of good stuff. So I don't know, but it's just still maybe
maybe they're kind of got to the point where they're like, we thought we would be in a different position. And to be honest with you, it's kind of like a double-edged sword where a lot of people are saying like, oh yeah, Marty Brodeur, he's going to be he's the next GM, no matter what, blah, blah, blah. And he's been groomed for this. And this is it. This is what he's been waiting for. Yes. Okay. Obviously we would all love that. But what if he sucks? What if he completely, blows his team apart and we end up being in dead last for the next 4 years, and he's the one steering the ship directly into the iceberg? Do you want to see the most iconic player to ever put on a jersey?
Are you saying there's like a fat Thor version of Marty? That guy that's just like always drunk, just making all these wild, random decisions. Trade him, I don't care.
Yeah. Or other GMs are like, oh, Marty, hey, guess what? We'll give you a bag of pucks for Nikita Gusev. And he's like, that sounds like a plan. I like pucks, and let's bring them here. And the next thing you know, we got a bag of pucks instead of Nikita Gusev. My point being
obviously we would have a team of all goldies.
Yeah. Haven't you seen that commercial? You seen that commercial? He says he's got a whole team, and they're filled with goalies. Now, don't get me wrong. I
need another cup holder.
Yeah, he's a superb actor. But I mean, my point is, I was having a conversation with somebody about this tonight, and they're like, this is one of the reasons why you didn't want to see Derek Jeter come back and help run the New York Yankees, because you don't want to see somebody that was so iconic and you hold in such prestige to come back and then, like, God forbid they do a bad job, and then you have to fire Marty Brodeur. And that's the thing is like, you don't want to get to that point where it's a heartstring thing, right? If that's
the job of a GM, though. It doesn't last forever.
If he's up for it and he's ready to do it and he's great, then hell yeah, do it. Rock and roll. I'm all about it. It would be one of the best things that could have happened. And then you get Scotty Stevens to be on the bench, coaching a team next year. And you have Patrick Eliash as an assistant coach, and then all of a sudden you start bringing all it back.
We just make them all the coaches. Make them all the coaches. I see your plans.
And then, and all these things come together. How wild would that be? Because that's not out of the realm of possibilities. You have Marty as a GM, and then Scotty Stevens as a coach, and like Breland and Eliash as like the assistant coaches.
In our hearts, that sounds wonderful. Would that make a very good realistic option? I don't know. We'd have to see, because most of those guys haven't coached at the NHL levels. But I would love the whole entire 95 team to just be the coach of our team now and just somehow run it all at once. It would be amazing.
I mean, or Benny says Mad Dog. Yeah, bring Mad Dog back. Where's Adam Oates when you need him?
He's coaching. Wasn't he coaching somewhere? I can't remember.
He was an assistant somewhere. I think he was an assistant for the Panthers.
I think he was.
What's up?
I think he was. Actually.
What's up, Sammy?
What's up, Sam Woo?
Breaking news.
Oh boy.
The owners just sold the team. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you trying to give me a heart attack? Jesus.
Oh, I wouldn't care about that. Anyway, no, actually, I got to give Josh Harris some credit. I mean, I've been screaming all along. I want to hear from the owner. I want to hear from the owner about all this. And
yeah, but
he came out.
Do you want to hear the sugar coated version of it, or do you want to hear the real deal? I would like him to come out and say like what's actually going on, and not, hey, it just didn't work out.
He just spoke for the first time. I mean, the guy speaks every once in a while publicly. It's always, press releases or statements, but it's never really, obviously it was probably his call, and he came out and said his piece. But yeah, of course I want to know what happened behind the scenes. Tim Clark Callahan. I mean, let us shut up.
No, I'm sorry, because somebody was like Sam Wu and Beer Baron for GM and coach, and then somebody was like Baron would make McLeod 20 minutes a night, and he would be a stud. He'd be a goddamn stud.
Hey, if I was the president of the team, I'd slash ticket prices in half immediately.
And then you'd lose a ton of money.
Who cares? It's not my money.
All joking aside, though, Sam, I brought this question up to Scotty, and I want to get your take on this too. Do you think that Tom Fitzgerald is going to have the green light to make any kind of trades or significant trades if he's only the interim GM? If they do not find somebody before the trade deadline, and that's another question: are they pressing the issue to try to find a permanent replacement before the trade deadline? Nope. Because if they are, and that guy comes in right before the trade deadline, is he allowed to make any severe moves? This puts the team in a weird spot, and that's a real question. Like, and anybody on the Facebook group, you guys, like, all joking aside, if you think about it, Tom Fitzgerald steps in. Yes, he's very familiar with the team. Yes, he's very familiar with the organization. Yes, he's very familiar with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But does that give him? Do they give him enough? Or does that, I don't know how to phrase this, but does that give him enough, I don't know, credibility or whatever you want to put it, to be able to make any of these moves?
Well, it seems like the organization trusts him, like we were talking about, because he's been in so many different roles already this season. So
yeah, but that was also Shero's doing. That was also Shero's doing, not the ownership.
Do we know that?
I guess we don't.
So we don't really know that as well. So that's things we can speculate about. But either way, it seems like he's been in a bunch of different roles. So the organization has some sort of trust with him in putting him into all these different positions. So I think he'll have I don't think he'll have the rights to go ahead and sign any like crazy long-term contract. But I think he'll have the rights to go ahead and deal some players. That's what I think. They got to do something. If they got to figure out what they're going to do with Sami Vatanen. If they're not going to try and re-sign him, they got to try and move him for something, I would think. Anyone who's a UFA, if you can, I would think you would try to, and then start bringing up some of the younger kids after the trade deadline. And see how they do and get some experience. That's when your boy Mikey
stop crying.
When your boy Mikey McLeod probably stop playing up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, so if Marty is if this is one of those like, hey, Marty's is our guy, but we can't openly and outwardly say it right off the bat, and they kind of know that they've been grooming him for this position, and this is it. Then I guess like it's okay to make those decisions or start pulling the trigger. And like, like you said, if you have a good deal in place, then that's another thing to think about too, to wrap your head around, is you think about all the conversations that Shero's been having over the last couple of weeks, maybe pertaining like Sami Vatanen. A lot of that stuff goes right out the window. You can imagine being a GM of another team, and you could just be like, hey, we're closing in. I think there's reports that, damn it, who the hell was it that was supposedly closing in on Vatanen? It doesn't matter. We'll just make up a team. They're like the Dallas Stars were like closing in on them. So let's pretend you're the Dallas Stars GM and you're getting ready to pull the trigger on this trade, and you're like, hey, I'm actually kind of liking what they're trying to sell. And then all of a sudden, boom, Shero's out. So does that mean that whole negotiation's gone? Or does that mean whoever, like Tom Fitzgerald, walks in and sits down in Ray's chair and all the old Post-it notes are sitting around the computer, and he's like, oh, I got to call Dallas because apparently they're interested.
I would think it's got to be on the basis of. Well, I think it's got to be on the basis of if Tom, the new whomever the new acting GM is, if they find the trade is worth value to the team or not. I figured that would be the way.
Vegas. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. That would be the only way I would say that. But I think you can't let all these guys just sit around and then walk away in the summer. That's why I'm saying this is just a crazy, crazy time for this to happen. Especially because the team, like saying, it's fun to watch again. They're starting to play the way we expect them to play.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
sorry,
go for it, Sam.
I mean, I'm reading this press release. You know how press releases are. They're just whatever. I'm trying to read between the lines. I'm trying to speculate like what really happened. But one thing that pisses me off, and I'm looking at the transcript of the press, press conference. Joshua Harris, he talks about direction. Well, what direction are you talking about? Is Ray being a seller right now, or is Ray being a buyer and he wants to sell, or vice versa? I don't know what direction he's talking about. Has the rebuild taken too long, or was Ray Shero was a seller and trying to get assets back, but this owner wants to win now? Which, hey, you know what? I'm all for that, but what direction is he talking about? It's always about taking a different direction. What direction? There's only one way you could go, is up. I mean, I don't know how far you can sink to the bottom, but I just want to ask you guys, like, what direction is he talking about? Is he looking to be a buyer? Is he looking to hold?
That is one thing that actually I kind of, when I saw that, I was like, is this guy really know what's going on with this team? Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, they're actually headed in the right direction. Finally, that's another reason why this seems so odd, because they're playing well, and it seems like the assets are starting to develop the way we're expecting them to. And we've seen that fire, we've seen that grit, we've seen 2 wins over 2 of the best teams in the league. And they took the Islanders to overtime earlier in the week. All right, we had a crappy game against the Rangers. They looked like they were asleep most of the game, but that's going to happen when you're a young team and we're growing. And it's not having that happen over multiple games like it was in the beginning of the season. So I was a little shocked when he said that, because what I was thinking was, hey, the team is on the right track finally. So I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
I mean, so there's a couple of things to this, and like we've had some time to kind of digest everything that's happened, and it still feels like it's kind of like a shock. And right now, everybody's saying on the MSG Plus, Nasruddin is having his post game conference, and there was somebody was saying that Danica was talking about the whole Ray Shero firing. Kevin, what's up, Kevin? But anyways, it's just, to me, it's like there has to be more to it. Some people are like speculating, like, was it that he wanted to trade Sami Vatanen and the ownership was like, no? I don't think there's ever been a player, especially not on this Devils team, that the ownership would be like, if you think about trading this man, you could take a hike. Like, there's no way in hell that Sammy Vatanen has that kind of influence over ownership where they're like, you trade our boy Sammy, you're out of here. Or even if that comes across your desk, you better pack your stuff and get out of here. Get your coffee mug that says number 1 GM on it and pack it up and get out of here.
Well,
I doubt.
Are you saying Sammy Vatanen like a Finnish Bond villain, and that he's got some sort of like control over?
No, he's an untouchable. He's like an untouchable. He's a made man.
Okay.
You can't do that. Okay. He's a made man. You know what you just did? He's a made man.
Henry, you see what you did?
You're gonna get. See, Ray Shero got called into the meeting, and they thought he was finally going to get made, and then they gave him the old right in the back of the head,
Michael says, yes, these owners pushed Lou Lamoriello out the door. How are the Islanders doing?
See, but okay, pump the brakes on that. Pump the brakes on that, and I'll tell you why. Lou Lamoriello was the greatest thing to ever happen to the New Jersey Devils. The greatest thing to ever happen to this franchise. He brought this franchise.
Also,
yes, yeah, and he did an all right job building in Toronto. But Lou Lamoriello did an amazing job for the New Jersey Devils and brought us 3 Stanley Cups. Should have been 4, but goddamn Ray Bourque. But besides that, towards the end of Lou's career here, towards the end of his tenure here, he got stuck in the past and could not get out of his own way. And he was just taking on bad contract after bad contract after bad contract. He got suckered into that Kovalchuk deal. He got, he would sign guys out of loyalty that just went over the hill. He had that love of, that obsession with Jaromir Jagr and couldn't get over it. And God bless, because I love Jagr, Michael Ryder, all these guys, all these different dudes, all these bad contracts. When Ray Shero took over this team, it was just inundated with horrible, horrible, horrible contracts. And Shero, to his credit, took that, turned this organization around, at least got us into the playoffs for one season. But to be honest with you, when Lou left, it was the best for the team and it was the best for Lou because he went up to Toronto. He got restarted his career up in Toronto. He got a fresh start, kind of started rebuilding things with Shanahan up there, got the opportunity with the Islanders. And yes, he is doing an amazing job with the Islanders, but you needed to have him divorce this team for him to find his own way again. And what people don't understand, if he would have stayed with the Devils, we would have been in better shape. No, we wouldn't have. We definitely wouldn't have. It took, and this is coming from Lou Lamoriello himself. He reinvented himself as a GM, and he has a lot of the same moral standards that he did when he was the Devils GM. You can't have a beard on a team and stupid stuff like that, but he's a lot smarter and hipper to how the game is run today. Sorry,
Definitely.
You're wrong about that.
I think that you are 100% correct, and I think we've seen that plenty of times with guys that have been around, the league with a team for a long time that come from the quote unquote old school or whatever, and they need to change and move on. And sometimes the best way for them to update themselves is get them out of that, rut that they've been in. Lou was very strict when he was here. No social media, not a lot of stuff with the interaction with the fans. It's better today. It definitely has. And I think Lou has done an amazing job up there in Toronto and now with the Islanders. And I wish him all the success in the world. I definitely met him a bunch of times at games, just kind of sneaking over by the executive side, just kind of walking there. He was usually hanging out over there and was willing to talk to anybody. So, I wish Lou all the best, Hall of Famer. And he did so many wonderful things for us. But now we have to figure out, what direction we're going to go in as a franchise. And I think we are definitely better off today, and I like the way this team is playing. And, maybe we should talk a little bit about all the transactions that have gone on over here this week, Scott. Lots of stuff. Or do you want to talk? Or do you want to continue talking GM? Do you want to continue talking GM? Or you want to talk about some of the games? We want to do.
No, we could.
We want to do.
We could talk a little bit about the games and about a little bit of the the other doings that are transpiring with this team. Mackenzie Blackwood,
all right,
basically going to be out for a little while because apparently in the Islanders game when he lost a couple of teeth.
Puck
I
to
don't
the
know if he got
face.
surgery on it, but I don't know if he got surgery on it or what was going on. But from what I understand, he was having a lot of pain in his face that could not go away when he was putting on his mask. He was super uncomfortable, and which could have affected him in that Rangers game. So not to make excuses for him, but maybe that's one of the things that was going on. Anyways, with that being said, Corey coming back up. His last 4 games, he's 4-0 with Binghamton. Yes, I know it's the AHL. I think he had a 1.29 goals against. He seems to be getting his confidence back. If he comes up and he starts playing well, here's another thing that could happen. He comes up, he gets his confidence, and he starts playing lights out. You already started pushing Mackenzie Blackwood as if he's your number one. Corey starts playing well enough where there's a team that has, and listen, this is all hypothetical, right? I'm not saying this is what I think is going to happen. I'm just giving you a scenario. Corey starts playing well, starts, stringing together some really solid performances, throwing a shutout here and there, whatever. You have a team have a goaltender that goes down that's right in the midst of a playoff race, and they are desperate for a goaltender. This all goes back to the whole GM situation, because if you have a GM who has enough power or say, Tom Fitzgerald, if he's there, could we move Corey Schneider? And listen, hypothetical, people, hypothetical. I'm not saying any of this crap will happen. I'm just saying this is all hypothetical. But it's a possibility. I mean, listen, at this point, with the way, if I would have told you at the beginning of the year, right? You, Shorts guy, Sam, I sitting down, and we're like, hey, guys, guess what? In the middle of the year, in January, Taylor Hall will be a Coyote, Corey Schneider will be in Binghamton, and Ray Shero will be fired. You'd probably be like, not after this offseason. Like, Shero had, on NHL Network, was saying he had the best offseason out of any NHL team this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. It is nuts. The Devils haven't been short on headlines this year. That's for damn sure. But yes, and Mac Black taking that
to a long-term deal. I agree.
Well, yes. That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. With all the games this week, in that Islanders game, that's when Mac Black did take that puck to the face there. Messed them up pretty good. I don't know if you saw it on TV, but man, he was all bloodied up, and those tooths looked. I don't know. I don't even know how he played the rest of the game, to tell you the truth. I would have been out, but I'm a pansy, so but Blake Coleman, another. Yeah, I'm out of here. Forget it, man. Done for the game. I'm like 2 weeks on IR if I lose a tooth. Give me a break. But Blake Coleman, just so much hustle, so much play. 13 goal. Well, I think he's up to 14 because he scored in the Caps game, I think, or something. But yeah. Blake Coleman, who would have saw that coming at the beginning of the year? No power play time either. Guy plays all 5-on-5 or on the penalty kill. I don't know how many breakaways he gets. I feel like he gets like 3 or 4 breakaways a game. He has been just phenomenal. Nico, another goal against the Islanders as well. He had one a couple weeks ago. Individual effort right to the front of the net, and again against the Islanders, like we talked about in the very beginning. We are literally watching this kid become a man on the ice. You can see he's just bigger and stronger, and he is in those zones in front of the goalie, going in there, and he's starting to get that superstar finish to him. It's starting to get to that point where the puck is on Nico's stick. I'm like, whoa. He can put it home. He's starting to get that finish, and it takes it to, I don't remember who was just talking about him. Michael here. I know a bunch of other, David as well. Nikita Gusev has looked great the past week or 2 weeks. And it even seems now, especially today, he had that great play where he basically took over the whole ice. He took over the whole play in the zone, circles around, whips it at the net. Travis Zajac tips it, in for the goal there. And it seems to me like teams are starting to play against, like almost like, when Goose has got the puck, they kind of fall back. They're not attacking, because if they attack, he's going to school them. He seems to be getting so much more comfortable with this play over here in North America. And you can really see it on the ice production-wise. The points are starting to go up. And that's also a direct effect with Blake Coleman as well, because Pickles and Goose are on the same line, and they play phenomenal together. And I think Goose is really utilizing Zajac and Coleman to his advantage, where he can go around and make some of these pretty plays and set himself up when he's got two guys like that are going to go in there and grind on the boards and cycle down in and hold the puck on some possession. So really like to see that coming along. I mean, that Caps game, whew, I mean, they looked great, I have it written down here. The Goose is getting loose, man. That's what I wrote down for like every single game, because it's the truth. He's been playing so much better. I mean, I almost want to let the Ranger game just wipe out of my memory because, oh my God, that play, that set play that they did, where I don't remember who it was on defense, like slapped it all the way down and it ricocheted off the boards, and someone was waiting at the blue line and like jumping. I mean, that play, that looks like Pee-wee stuff, that they were pulling off there. The Devils just looked completely asleep in the Ranger game. But the Caps game, phenomenal. Zaka looked really good on the PK, I got to say, shutting down Ovechkin. This Lightning game, they looked great. They battled the entire game. What were we always talking about in the beginning of the season? No 60-minute games, right? Now it looks like they're starting to play. Problem.
Yeah, well, it looks like we might have lost Scotty because he froze and his face is terrifying. Yeah, honestly, like he was just trying to say, we kind of fell into this, hold on, I got to send a quick message. The Devils in the beginning of the year fell into this whole, like, could not finish a game, could not pull off a 60-minute game. And then all of a sudden, they start pulling out these games. It's just like if they bought into the way that they're playing, I don't know what's going on. But Naz has them playing a completely different style of hockey. And one of the cool things about this is, as a team, they're really. What I'm saying is like blown Scotty's mind. He's just completely frozen with amazement. But this team just looks. They're way more fun to watch now, and it's going to be super interesting. Oh, you're back to life. All right, good.
Oh, man. Did you see the screenshot of me that froze my face? I was like, ah. I just looked down and I was like, "Oh my God!"
And I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I just started mumbling.
You just started mumbling.
As soon as which is even funnier is that Sam didn't cut away from you. He just kept it on your weird, crazy face. Your eyes bugging out of your head.
Yeah. I'm like, dude. I'm like Arnold when he comes out in like Total Recall. Like. Oh man. So what did I miss?
No, nothing. I was just agreeing with you in the beginning of the year. Like they couldn't put together a 60-minute game to save their lives. Now they seem to be playing a complete game. They're buying into the system. Naz has them playing with a different type of confidence. I think there's a camaraderie with this team. You could see it in those little the little post game locker room moments that they show.
Yes,
there's like the Nikita Gusev yesterday when he got the game winner, and Nasruddin was like, and the game winning goal, Nikita Gusev, and he throws him the puck, and Goose stands up and he gives like this super awkward, I don't know English speech, where it's like, you guys great, okay, let's win next one, yes, and everybody's like, ah. But I mean, like that's that is what you like to see. Like this team is starting to come together, and there's I listen, I could be wrong about this, but the last time I checked, I think I looked yesterday, and I believe they're only 13 points out of a playoff spot. Am I saying there's a chance?
You're telling me there's a chance. Yeah. You know what? Like we were talking about, I'm actually just going to pull it up here real quick because I just want to check. Devils right now are 17, 21, and 7. So they are 4 games under 500. If the Devils, in my mind, in my mind, if they finish the season above 500, I'm a happy guy, because that means, I mean, they were terrible in the beginning of the year. They were so bad. That means that we're playing really well, and we're turning the corner, and we're growing as a team, and we're coming together, and these guys are getting more experience, and they're starting to play, as we expected them to. And that's for me. That's for me. I feel like if they can get to that 500 mark and stay like a game or two above it, and finish the year that way. What are we in January? What do we got? Like 3 months left, like 2.5, something like that. If they can make that up,
February, March,
April,
I'll be at 3 months left.
Okay, I'll be a happy fan. I'll be a happy fan.
So here's a few things. The whole firing of Ray Shero, and I'm going to circle the wagons all the way back to this point, just because I think it's a good point to make. Mm-hmm. With Shero getting fired, the possibility of any kind of significant move being made is, I don't know if that's off the table. Extensions as well, mid-season, and that's another thing too. Is Fitzgerald going to be able to extend Sammy Vatanen in the middle of the season? Is that something that could be on the table now? Is that something that now the Shero maybe didn't want to talk about, and maybe he was very adamantly against it, or adamantly against extending guys in the middle of the season, and didn't want to do it? And from what I hear and from multiple sources, is that Sammy Vatanen loves it here. He loves the guys that he plays with. He loves the situation he's in, and he doesn't necessarily want to be traded. Same thing with Wayne Simmons, and I know somebody was saying on the group before that he thinks he's a bust. What did you expect from Wayne Simmons? In all honesty, were you expecting him to come in here and light it up and put up like 30 goals a year? No, I think he's playing his role, and he's doing a good job at it. He's a veteran leadership in the locker room, and he's looking out for, some of the younger guys. I think this team, like you said, Scotty, is starting to trend in the right direction under Nasruddin, getting rid of Hall was probably the best thing that this team could have done. And I don't know what it is, but it just seems like
an obvious distraction.
It was an obvious distraction, and I just feel like after he was gone, it felt like the team was like, all right, like we could be cool guys. It was like being in a group of friends, and you got that one dude that everybody was like, hey, yo, this guy is like, he's super cool. He's got lots of money. He'll like pay our bar bill when we go out or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, this is great. And he comes out and he hangs out, and one night you have a blast, and he's like, I can't believe you paid for all of us to go to the strip club. And you're like, this is fantastic. And then all of a sudden he starts to turn into a giant D-bag, and you're like, this guy is terrible. And is just bringing everybody down. And then once he leaves,
I don't know about.
You're like, yo, we're back to being best friends, everybody.
I don't know about that. I was picturing more.
I'm not
they're
saying
all
that's what
like,
he is. I'm not saying that's what he is. I'm just saying I was just making a wild comparison.
Hey,
no,
but they're definitely
our 2 games in a row with the empty netter.
The empty netter. Oh man, who was I just going to reference on here? Hell's Bells. What were we just talking about? Andy Green. Wayne Simmons. There you go. That was actually something I wanted to talk to you about, ask you your opinion on, because people are judging Wayne Simmons on his production right now, which is, it's not the best for what's he getting paid, $5 million. So he's on a 1-year deal. Sammy Vatanen, also an attractive piece for a contending team. Same thing with Wayne Simmons. His leadership, his playoff experience, everything that he's done in his career. I
think you froze again. So we're going to leave you hanging with that thought. So I'll fill in the blank here. What do I think is going to happen with Wayne Simmons is if Ray Shero was still the GM, I'd say there's a very strong possibility that Wayne Simmons is dealt. What is he going to get dealt for? I don't think you're going to get a ton in return for him. But the same, if Wayne Simmons isn't dealt, he could possibly be somebody that. Why do you keep freezing over there?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's damn Spectrum in Los Angeles. Man, those guys
well,
really tickle my pickle.
Well, this time when you froze, you looked like Jim Brewer there.
Did I?
Yeah, the eyes half open. But
well, anyway, Wayne Simmons now.
Yes,
so what I was about to ask you is Wayne Simmons, someone who has a lot of that. What's the word I'm looking for there? The intangibles.
He's a tough dude.
There it is. He has the intangibles. He's a tough dude. I like him. I know everyone thought I was crazy in the beginning of the season, but I was saying put Jack Hughes with him the entire time. He's like, no, the hockey league is different now. The finesse players could just play now. Blah, blah, blah. Please. He was getting plastered at the beginning of the year. He does so much better with Wayne Simmons out there with him, So Wayne, although he only has 4 goals and 12 assists, 14 assists, somewhere around there, he brings a lot of leadership to the team. He brings a lot of, kind of big brother type of thing. Like I feel like, Wayne is kind of like that guy, like for Jack Hughes kind of deal. And, is that someone you want to offer maybe a 2 or 3 year deal to, but not at $5 million per season? I think that's just a little too much over there. For if he had like 10 goals already, maybe, but he's got 4.
Yeah, I don't know what you would be able to get for Simmons. I don't know. I don't even know. Like I couldn't speculate on it, just because it's like, would you get like a 4th, 5th round pick at this point? And if you're not going to get a lot for him, then you just keep him around. I really like Wayne Simmons. I really think he's good for this club. I think he's a great veteran presence, and you're not relying on him for production. You know what I mean? Like he shouldn't have
$5 million. That's his. I believe that's 5 mil though is a little like.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's something. A 3rd or 4th rounder, dude. Oh, sweet, cool. If you could get, listen, there's people that I don't want to see go. Kyle Palmieri, Sami Vatanen, Wayne Simmons, 3 guys that I know that will probably be tradable, but I don't want to see him get traded. I want to see Sami Vatanen.
3 probably biggest commodities though.
And that's the point.
Palmieri go. If I had to pick, I'd keep Palms obviously. And because Sammy and Wayne, you might have a chance. It doesn't happen too often, but it has happened before where people come back in the offseason, especially where they're free agents like that.
And that is my point too, is with everything that's been going on, right? So now you got you have the GM in waiting, you have the GM in whatever the hell the situation is with the GM situation. Now it's like, circle back again. Do they get the green light to do these moves? If they do they trade? You could probably get a really nice haul for Sami Vatanen. He's having a hell of a season. He's healthy. He's 28. He's a puck.
What did you mean by haul, Scott?
Ha ha ha. Yeah. You could, in theory, bring him back next year. You could even have a sit-down conversation with him. And I don't know if this happens often or at all, but you could have a sit-down conversation with him like, look, we love you here. We think you're an amazing player. We want to bring you back and sign you long-term, but we feel like we can get a lot for you right now. Would you be willing to go to this team and come back over the summer? And that, it's basically like going on a vacation. Hey, you might even have a shot at the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, it's something to consider. Sami Vatanen, I hope the Devils sign him long term, and he's a good cornerstone for the defense. But with that said, you get what you get for him. Same thing with Palmieri, dude. I do not want to see the Devils trade Palmieri away. I think he's become such a face of this franchise in the sense of like everybody rallied around the fact that he was a Jersey guy. When he got traded, when the Devils traded for him and they brought him over, how many, and this is an honest, and Ray Shero, and this is an honest question. How many Devil fans, Ray Shero, how many Devil fans actually knew anything about Kyle Palmieri? That's a real question. How many Devils fans? How many of you? Because I'll be honest with you, I knew of him. I didn't know much about him. And then when they brought him over, I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's.
I knew of him as a guy that was playing on, second and third line when he probably could be playing on top line minutes, which that's what he's doing. And performing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that Kevin in the Facebook group just said I knew nothing. It's an honest truth too. Like, not many people knew who Kyle Palmieri was, unless you have a different advantage.
He was buried in Anaheim.
West Coast.
Yeah, he was buried in Anaheim too, and he had Corey Perry and what's his name? Remember his name?
Getzlav?
Yes. He had all. I mean, that was a couple of years ago. They were top.
He was. He was not. Yeah, but he was not on their line. He was like a third liner.
Exactly. He should have been, but he wanted. He was a guy who was getting kind of buried there. Ice time that deserved more minutes, and that was a big time out here. I know in Southern California out here. I mean, the Kings, the Ducks, the Sharks. They were all like, that's when they were having that like SoCal trio stuff going on. So there was a lot of really good players out here. And I think it worked the greatest for Palmieri because he was able to get out from underneath those guys' shadows who were established stars and captains of the team and everything like that, and be able to go show off his stuff and his skills in New Jersey. And I think I saw a couple of people talking about it earlier. I can't remember exactly who was talking about whether Nico or Palms should be the next. Here we go. Raymond and Michael. I mean, we'll have to see, but I mean, those are two great candidates for, the leadership future of the Devils right there. As long as nobody gets crazy itchy finger, no one gets jazz hands and starts pushing buttons and, trading Kyle Palmieri. I don't think that would be a good thing for the franchise. I think he just provides so much leadership. He's a guy that guys follow his example on ice. He's a hard-nosed player. He puts the puck in the net. He works, it seems tirelessly, and he does good things with his charities outside as well.
And he wears his emotions on his chest, and he's got a lot of Jamie Langenbrunner, man. Yeah, he's got a lot of the Jamie Langenbrunner type. Yeah. I thoroughly love what Kyle Palmieri brings to this team. I would love to see him get signed long term to the point where he even retires as a Devil. He's one of those guys that like keep in the fold for a long time. Nico being here for the next 7 years, he's already locked up, so he's going to be here.
Yes,
another
happy about
great. That. And listen, and that, damn it, I'm going to bring this point up too.
Who did that contract?
And that's what I'm about to say. And I don't know if I'm really all about this firing of Ray Shero. And I don't care what a lot of people say, but I'm not happy about it. I thought he was. I didn't think he was doing a terrible job. He could have easily picked Nolan Patrick over Nico Hischier. Let's be 100% honest. Anybody that was really watching that draft leading up to that number one pick, all right, you had Nolan Patrick for the two previous seasons was being heralded as the number one overall pick in that draft. Nico Hischier kind of came out of left field, and at least for a lot of us, there's obviously, if you're really in the know and you're really deep into hockey and you're going into overseas and doing all these other whatever. Yes, you probably saw it coming a mile away. Wow. But no, I'm just saying, like, for most of us, we see, like we're watching everything leading up to it, and I was like, yeah, this Nolan Patrick kid, all right, this kid's legit. He's gonna be good. And then all of a sudden you start seeing highlights of this Nico Hischier kid, and you're like, man, this kid looks good. And they start talking it up, and they're like, this kid could be the number one overall pick. And then I remember the week before the draft, watching these behind the scenes interviews where they showed the interview between the Devils and Nolan Patrick, and they showed the interview between Hischier and the Devils, and I was like, dude, they have to pick this Hischier kid. There's something about him that I absolutely loved. I fell in love with it when the first time I saw that interview with him. And obviously, Ray made the right choice. He could have easily picked Nolan Patrick, and look at what happened to him.
Yep.
I mean, and the same thing, and who knows what's going to happen with Jack Hughes and Kako down the line. But, and I hate to say
that's
this
going to be Jack Hughes is a young kid. He's 18 years old. We just expected way too much of him and got, swept up into the hype. Like, just think about it. This kid's going to be, in 3 years, he'll be 21. He'll still be, developing as a human at that point in his life, So, like, he's going to be fine. He is going to be fine. And he's going to be, I think he's going to be, a goal-making machine in a couple of years down the road.
And that's the thing, dude, is Shero has done so much good for this team.
That's what I think.
And I'm seeing a couple of people, even so. Jake Wakely was just saying in the Facebook group, Patrick was pegged as the number one for 2 to 3 years. Shero was right when he made that call, 100%, dude. And that brings up my point too. Like, it wasn't just like Nolan Patrick was. Oh, he might be he was the number one overall pick, and he was touted as the number one overall pick for a good amount of time. And Tim Clark Callahan says Nico took a while. He just turned 21. Hey,
and he's turning into a man. Like we talked about, he's like turning into a man in front of our eyes on the ice.
Yeah,
you can see it. You can see it.
He is.
He's so much harder on the puck. People can't just push him out of the way. That was the problem too. I felt like a lot of times, I used to, dude. I'm actually contemplating getting one of those as well. But I was of that mindset, not of the whole like, oh, this was new world of hockey and these finesse players. But I didn't like seeing, and I know I brought this point up on the podcast before, but I didn't like seeing Nico and Brat on the same line, because I thought they were two guys that kind of got pushed around a little bit. Now, Nico is pushing other people around, and he is the one who is getting in front of the goal, and he's winning all these battles. And all of a sudden, I don't mind that combination. And though I'd like to see more from Brat, and he's coming off injury and everything like that, he has also looked well. Nico is starting to look like a player that makes the other players around him a lot better. You know what I mean? Not just like, oh, this guy can score. This guy can make the other players perform as well and put them in the right positions and do that dirty work. And man, I'm really looking forward to the future with Nico Hischier.
Yeah, and Kevin in the Facebook group just brought up a great point. He said once Hughes gets stronger on the puck, like Nico is now, he's going to be absolutely filthy. Dude, I can't agree with that more. Jack Hughes, he's 18, and the dude's $150 soaking wet. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? I don't know how much he actually weighs. He probably like 180 or something like that. When I was 18, I was skin and bones, man. Like I can't even. I love I was thinking the movie PCU, which, by the way, if you don't know what that movie is, like, what was I doing when I was 18? Sitting in a parking lot, picking my nose or something like that. But honestly, like, if you know the movie, you know what reference I'm making. But anyways, I think you give Jack Hughes like 2 years, he starts putting some meat on his bones. The kid starts getting a little bit tougher, getting a little bit more used to the grind of the NHL. And that is the thing too, bro. Like, some of these kids come into the league. Jack Hughes is a stud, an absolute stud. And if you don't think so, you're delusional. And if you think he's a bust, you're delusional, and you have no idea what hockey is. This kid is going to be filthy in the next couple of years. Yeah. He needs to get acclimated to the game. And Chico Resch, and we bring this up all the time, Chico Resch brought it up when we had him on. He said if Jack Hughes came into this league and dominated right away, then this league wouldn't be worth anything. And we have a special surprise.
All right.
We have a special surprise. Our brother
coming from the game
is on the line waiting. Is he coming from the game?
I'm just
right.
I'm just trying to. Sorry, folks. I know that you guys have been complaining in the chat rooms.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Switch
actually, do you know why?
Is that a Cleveland Browns hat?
No, this is a Dunkin' Donuts
Dunkin'
hat
Donuts.
because
Donuts.
Time to make
or
coffee.
Dunkin'. Yeah, Dunkin' because they support women's hockey, WNHL or no NWH. I forgot what was it WNH NWHL. That's it. What a great plug, huh?
Yeah.
Congratulations to Rebecca Morse for making to the All-Star
Oh
game.
man.
That's what I wanted to say.
Wow.
It's been a tough day for me. I'm sorry. On the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, we've got Short Sky. Sorry, Scotty.
What a great
I
picture.
don't think I
What
made
a
a
good
graphic.
picture. Man.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks for
That
cutting
Short
me
was
out
Sky.
there.
Bump Scotty.
You're on the
All I see
air.
is Erica
Scotty.
Wagner. All I see is Erica.
What is going on, guys?
What's up, dude?
Dude, Short Sky, let's just jump right into it. Your thoughts about Ray Shero getting fired today?
Stunned. That's about it. Sammy and I were talking about it when we were live at PJ Ryan's for our pregame podcast. The news came up in an alert on my phone, and then all of a sudden we were scrambling looking for information. Just completely stunned at the timing. Completely stunned that it actually happened. This was the last thing I expected to happen, at least today. And now we've got a lot of changes that are going to be coming. For anyone that has yet to listen to or will be listening to, we spoke at length with about this with Bruce Driver. Talking about what the next steps are. It's basically a tryout. It's potentially a tryout, I should say, for Fitzgerald or even possibly Brodeur.
So, Short Sky, this is something that I asked Scotty and I asked Sam as well. What do you think? Do you think that Fitzgerald is going to have carte blanche to be able to pull the trigger on whatever he wants to do? Or is it now going to be one of those things like, hey, you know what? You guys aren't going to be the GM, so don't go out there making any trades. Don't go do anything stupid. Just hold down the fort, answer the phone, and make sure that there's toilet paper in the bathroom.
I think that really is all going to be determined by how well the Devils play leading up to the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
If the Devils are going to be in the possible position of making a run for that final playoff spot, then they may have to say, regardless whether they want them to or not, they may have to say, okay, go do what you need to do to get us to the playoffs. It also could very well be a tryout for him to see if he can do this, or if they're just going to go with the best possible guy in the summer, no matter what. I can't imagine that if the Devils are close, that ownership group is going to just let them let them float and not make the playoffs if they were one move away from it.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be stupid to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, let's say they don't bring any of those guys back. They don't give the keys to Marty. They don't bring Fitzgerald back, or they don't keep him promoted to the GM job, which by all accounts he could easily take that position. I think he's more than qualified to do so. If they make any moves, is it kind of like, well, like you said, I guess like you make the move, but if they don't bring him back, I don't know how that looks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say about this, but it's kind of like, all right, you look at what the New York Jets did, right? They had a GM come in, make all these trades and do whatever, and then make all these signings. They do the draft. He drafts the team, and then boom, they fire him. And then you get a new GM come in, and it's not even like, oh, all right, this is my roster. Do you want to be in that kind of position? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's going to be determined, like I said, on how the Devils are doing come trade deadline. If they do not make the playoffs, I think that the Devils make their decision between the end of the season and the draft so that they have that guy in place. So I really think it depends on how the team is doing. and then I still think that no matter what, they'll make their decision, sometime between when the Devil season ends, whenever that may be, whether it's, end of regular season or, playoffs or what have you. They should make that decision by, a little bit before draft time, so that they have someone in place to make that draft decision. And then obviously have someone in place to make any of those free agent decisions come July 1.
Scotty, you still there, or did you fall asleep?
No, I'm here. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just thinking about it again. I'm just dumbfounded by it. It just seems like such an odd move to me. Just the timing, the whole perspective. I mean, like what Sam Wu was talking about before about the owner saying he didn't like the direction of the team. Just I like the way our team is going right now. I thought we were heading in the right direction with all these kids. So I don't know if there's some disconnect there. What's going on? But the Devils have a lot of work ahead of them. That's for sure. Need a new coach, need a new GM. In one way or another. If Fitzgerald or Naz ends up taking over or something like that, they have some holes that they got to fill over there.
But they said that it was the direction the team was going. It may not be the direction that it's going on the ice. It may have been philosophies in the front office that ownership may not have agreed with the philosophy of Shero. And we had Nick Villano on earlier, and he brought up a fantastic point that could have potentially been something about it could have been a philosophical difference between Shero and ownership, and that could have been it. So, direction doesn't necessarily mean how they're playing on the ice, because it makes more sense in my mind to have done this on Friday after the debacle against the Rangers than to do it today at 5:45, an hour and 15 minutes before puck drop, hour and 25 minutes, what have you, coming off of a 5-1 drubbing of Washington.
At home, nonetheless.
At home, yeah.
Yeah, and it just the difference in direction must have been something on the front office end philosophically between how Shero wanted to do something in ownership. I can't imagine this was there was an issue today and they decided to fire him today. There just must have been something going on in the background that we just obviously don't know. I mean, for all we know, ownership could have been not pleased with the return on the Hall trade. Who knows?
And that very well could be. Obviously, the only ones that know are the ones that are directly involved. And this is one of those, like we always say, you could sit around and speculate. You could sit around and have a beer and try to figure out what the hell's going on. And like I said to Scotty, and if we would have had this conversation at the beginning of the year, where we're sitting there, especially after, after free agency and after, let's say after the Subban trade, because I think that was the last thing that happened right before the season started. And I remember we had that podcast right after they announced Subban. They had the whole thing where Gusev. They came out and then Gusev as well. Even when Gusev, right before the season started, we had the whole Gusev thing, and we were so jacked up, and we were like, we got Subban, we got Gusev, we got Hughes. Oh my God, Shero killed it this year. If we would have stopped and said, oh, and by the way, he'll be gone in January, we probably would have been like, nah, yeah, you're stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that was before that they started playing, and we saw what was happening on the ice. Because
unfortunately,
they just haven't. Yeah, they. I said this before when we were at PJ Ryan's. The firing of Hines, we were waiting for. It was a matter of time. The trading of Hall, we were waiting for. It was a matter of time. This we were not waiting for, nor did we think it was a matter of time. And you're correct. Based on the moves in the summer, on paper, we were supposed to be really good. However, when those moves got put into, on ice play, the execution of it on ice was terrible. So there's, like you said, there's the only people who know are the ones who are directly involved, and we may or may not ever find that out. Now it's a matter of are they it's going to come down to how the team plays going into the trade deadline first, and then you got to imagine that they should, if they're smart, make that decision before the draft.
Yeah, and a couple of points as well, like we were discussing a little bit earlier. With all this, you would think that it would be a sort of a distraction on the team, but the team went out there and played phenomenally tonight. That was incredible on their end. Sometimes when you see these things, you see the fallback from the team. I thought they went out there and they just played brilliantly all night, and that was really nice to see.
Yeah, no, agreed. And Bruce gave us a little bit of insight to that earlier. He said pretty much as a player, this is something you find out, and it doesn't necessarily directly affect you as a player.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to affect today's game, tomorrow's game. It'll affect you when you go to resign, or if you were in the process of looking for a new contract from the off season. But he said pretty much from the GM standpoint, it's aside from someone that's been fired, it's not as doesn't as directly affect the players as one would potentially think. Now, the firing of a head coach, that's a lot more direct towards a player. But I don't, I got to go with, what Bruce said as, the guy that's been in that position before. This is more a little bit above the players. Their job is just go on the ice and play. It's not that direct connection like the coach, for example.
Mm. And I think you also brought up another point that was something me and Scott were discussing a little bit earlier. You were talking about, waiting for John Hines to get fired, waiting for Taylor Hall to get fired. Maybe ownership thought that Ray hung on to these things too long, that he waited too long on some of them. Maybe that was some of the direction that they could have been talking about. What if Taylor Hall was traded in the summer if we knew there was no chance of him coming back? What if John Hines was fired a month earlier? Where would the Devils be in the standings, kind of deal? I think that's an interesting point, and we were touching on it before, and you kind of hit it right there as well. Maybe there is something to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We all wondered why it took so long to fire Hines. We all wondered why. I don't want to say we all wonder why it took so long to trade Hall, because it's trading a player that's potentially going to just kind of bolt come summertime. It's that's going to take some to get a decent return, at least, is going to take some kind of time. So that I can understand. But maybe maybe the return wasn't to the ownership's deal. It's who knows. It seems like something was not right, and it seems there must have been a breaking point, and it just seems to be such an odd breaking point right now that coming off a 5-1 victory, that an hour before a game today, that was something. There was something that just snapped, and he was let go.
That's insane. I was shocked.
Yeah, it's funny is all three of us, actually all four of us, kind of have like that same sentiment of like when it came across, when it flashed on my phone, I saw breaking news and I looked down and I'm like, Ray Shero, and I was like, oh, well, who did he trade for? Like that was the first inkling that my brain was like, who did Ray fleece now? Who did he take out to the ringer? And it was like, oh no, he got fired. I'm like, what the hell? Wait, what just happened? And it was like,
I'll tell you what. If you get a chance, when the the recording of our podcast from PJ Ryan's today is put up, just go and just watch the dumbfounded look that Sam and I, at least I felt like I had the dumbfounded look on. We just had no idea what to do at that moment. We're like, the two of us are like, wait, what? Just completely caught off guard and dumbfounded. It was, essentially it's pre-recorded breaking news, but we were just, the looks on our face could just probably just scream confusion. And even Bruce Driver was sitting there like on his phone looking for updates online, like, wait, what? What just happened?
Yeah, this was just shocking.
Oh, Sam just jumped in. What's up, Sam?
Yeah, it was shocking, and it's what I told Beer Baron and Scotty before we went on live air, that you could hear a pin drop when we first announced it. If you remember, Shorts Guy, it was loud, it was fun, and then as soon as I kept on repeating, Ray Shero is out as GM of the New Jersey Devils, suddenly you saw the entire crowd at PJ Ryan's just look at us. You could hear like a pin drop, for a couple minutes. People were just shocked, and we were just basing it on some guy that came up to us, some random fan. Hey, did you hear that Shero and the Devils parted ways? And we're like, what? And this was on live air, first 2 minutes.
No, Sam, what happened was the guy came up and was like, oh, that was like 20 minutes ago. We're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. 20 minutes.
Of course they were.
20 minutes, my ass. I mean, it wasn't even 20 minutes.
News,
I mean, we were. Yeah, I got it first. I thought you guys knew. And we're like, yeah, we were setting up. We had no idea. But it didn't even make it to our phones at that point.
No. And even if it did happen 20 minutes prior, like you said, we were setting up, and all of a sudden it was like, there's that alert. So we had this whole plan for this podcast, and all of a sudden it was like, now what do we do? It's the weirdest thing. But that's what happens with the Let's Go Devils podcast. We pre-record breaking news sometimes, even when it's that important.
Just crazy.
Yeah, we'll put it. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a live replay tomorrow of that podcast as it happened. And I made an analogy.
I swear, he is a master technician. He can make anything happen.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like 1980. The Team USA playing the Soviets. It's a live replay. On tape delay, right? A day later, right? So, but and I like it too. It was almost like it felt surreal. And again, maybe I made a bad analogy, but I thought it was like where were you when JFK got shot? But we were all at PJ Ryan's eating the shrimp tempura.
I have a question for you. Which was more shocking of a text or an alert? This one or when Kovalchuk retired? Because I feel like I had the same reaction of like, what? You just kidding me? Like, what are you, stupid or something? Like, no, that didn't just happen. And then the reality hits you really fast, and you're like, oh my god, that just really happened.
I had the same exact reaction, except I think the Kovalchuk one hit a little bit harder. I think there was, as a player, there was a little bit more of a personal connection than Shero. But yeah, no, a very similar reaction. Very good, very good example on that. Very similar reaction for me, at least.
Yeah, I remember. Go ahead, Scotty.
No, I was just gonna say that. Well, the Kovalchuk, I was angry. I was mad. I was pissed. This, I'm just like, what the hell? So I'm a little more confused. But the Kovalchuk, I think I was angry. I was mad.
I think I agree. I think with the Kovalchuk one, I still had the same reaction of like, wait, what the hell just happened? And like at first you're like, this is some kind of weird joke or like whatever. I still don't think Ray Shero did a bad enough job to get fired. It's not like he was Pete Chiarelli in Edmonton. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't just get fleeced for Taylor Hall and getting, Adam Larson in return. Like, and Pete Chiarelli deserved to get fired. Let's be clear. But I don't think he was on that level. I didn't think he was on a level where he should have been fired. And it was just kind of like today. It was like I saw it come across the phone. And I couldn't believe it, and I'm still like dumbfounded about it. I don't want to say that I'm upset. Like Scotty said, like when Kovalchuk got, when he retired, I was like, wait, what just happened? And then it immediately was followed by like F that dude, and just like pissed off and just like angry. This I was just like the whole time I'm like, man, I wonder if he like punched somebody in the face, or Ray said he's got he's a surly son of a gun. He's got quite the mouth on him. Maybe he told somebody to go F themselves, and they're like, you know what, Ray? No, F you, pal. And they're like, send him to the door. You never know.
I love your alleged scenarios, Scott. They're always fantastic.
I know.
You know what? Shorts guys, my witness, as we were, as that was going along, as the podcast was going along at PJ Ryan's, people started tipping us, like in the middle of the podcast. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, it's just like the more we talked about, the more they were tipping the tip jar for our $35 million plane.
Did they think you were homeless, or was it like they were actually tipping you because they thought you were good?
No, they felt bad.
They felt.
I think it was. I think they. I want to say that they probably thought it was the pay for a new GM fund, and they didn't realize it was balanced. So they were trying to collect money for a new general manager. Whatever.
Oh my god.
Whew.
It's the crazy thing about all this is, last year at this time we were so content with like, hey, we'll just suck, and then we'll get the number 1 overall pick, and we'll get Jack Hughes, and at least we have that silver lining. This year, I don't even know what to feel anymore. I don't know what I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel, because you know what I mean. Like, you're like, yeah, this team's
over there. I don't know what to feel anymore.
I don't know what to feel.
We're winning games, and we're playing gritty, and we're playing hard nosed, and these kids are growing up. We got a confusing situation here.
No. Scotty, that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm excited about that. What I'm talking about is like I don't know what the future is going to hold. I don't know what this going to I don't know who the next GM, the next coach. I like Nasruddin, and I almost want to see him stick around. I feel like he could be a very good coach for this team for a long time. I also feel like it's like you don't know what the hell's going on. I woke up this morning. If you would have told me, if you would have texted me this morning, you're like, yo, Shero's getting fired, I would have been like, you're full of it or you're high on drugs, because that's not going to happen. And it happened.
And it did. It happened.
It did. And
so I
guess, you know what?
Yeah, it is an uncertain future then.
Only hope for the best.
Yeah, I guess we can. We only hope for the best, and then yeah, seriously.
Well, I think we have a lot of hope on the ice. I think we got a good product starting to go out there, and hope to see a lot of Devils fans, going back out to the arena and supporting this team as they start to play the way we expect them to play. Yeah, they may not be the best team in the league. Still a couple years away, maybe, but we're getting better, and they're playing hard, and that's all we can really ask for from fans. Short Scott, we're talking earlier. What a week we had. Even though we lost to the Islanders, great game. They kind of fell asleep during that Rangers game, looked really bad, but they came back strong against the Caps. The Caps are stacked. Just like when you're watching that game, you're like, man, Backstrom, Ovechkin, Vrana, Carlson. It just doesn't stop with them. It's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. So to play that well against them, and then to turn around back-to-back days, and play that well against Tampa Bay, man, I think that's all we can ask for as fans is to keep this up.
It just shows what this team can excuse me, shows what this team can do.
Yes.
They just got to do it more consistently.
Yeah, and it shows promise. And guys, specifically, like Gusev is come around and is starting to play like the guy that we thought we got when we first made that trade. And that's like, God damn it. That's another thing too. It's like, who made that trade? Ray Shero. But Gusev is finally starting to play up to his potential, I feel like, and starting to, really get comfortable in the NHL level. And I think he's just showing you by the way, the goal he had tonight should have stood. And I don't care what you said. That was not goaltender interference. I've seen plenty of dumb calls in my life, and that was a dumb call. He should have had another goal tonight. But his game's starting to pick up. Blake Coleman, dude is solid every week. Every game he comes into, that dude is solid. And you can always rely on him. Nico Hischier, we talked about it, extensively in the first part of the podcast. He's becoming a man. Like he's becoming the man. He could be the next captain. This team, Jack Hughes has got potential out the roof. This team is starting to come together, and things are starting to fall together. And then I can't stop myself from thinking this, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. But I know we're getting ready to wrap up. But do you want them to be competitive for the rest of the year and have a respectable record and not make the playoffs, or do you want them to be a lottery team and maybe sell off some pieces where it's going to put them in that bottom position and get them ready for the lottery?
I just kind of had this thought as you were talking, as far as, you're correct. There are a lot of players playing very well right now, kind of trying to, because all we can do is speculate about why Shero was let go. But, maybe Shero was looking to go into the trade deadline as a massive seller, and ownership was in complete disagreement with it. And maybe that is a potential reason why he was let go as well. Maybe he was going to be a seller because, I'm tired of being a seller at the trade deadline. And as much as, it would be nice to get a top 1, 2, or 3 pick again, I'm tired of having those top picks. And, there's no guarantee, even if we are the worst team, that we're going to get that top pick. So I would rather there be a competitive team and have something to build off of. I just want to make sure that we have the proper people in place to draft at that, 8 to 15 spot.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. And I told you this earlier, Scott, that, I would love to see the team, fight their way up and get their record above 500 before the season is over. That's what I would like to see as a goal for this team. They're currently 4 games under, like 3.5 months left. Let's see them get above 500 and then stay there and finish that way. And if there are some UFAs that we can trade off and get some quality assets for, then I am all about that. And then seeing some of these other young kids come up at the end of the season. But for me, I don't need to see the tank show. If it happens organically, then okay, but that's not what I want to see. I want to see the team continue to play. They have been fighting hard, and like I said, I would love to see them get to that 500 mark, maybe push a game or two above, and finish above 500 for this season.
I just wanted to chime in on that. The rebuilding mindset is over. It's time to start putting results in the win column and see what this team is made of. And that should be the goal. I agree with Scotty. Let's get to 500 first and see where it goes. They have 2 first-round draft picks in the next draft. Obviously, a new GM coming in. And you know what? And these players right now are playing for their jobs. So with that incentive, I'd like to see what they can do when they're hungry and when they're not feeling that secure with the new with a new boss coming in. So right now, 2 wins in a row against top-tier teams, back-to-back nights. That's a start. Again, I've always said that Nasruddin is the right coach for the moment. He's definitely improved this team quite a bit where they were a month ago. Let's build on that. Let's set our expectations game by game. And if they can get to 500 before the year's out, we have something to look positive towards Nico Heischer, Jack Hughes in his second year for next season. The goaltending situation, that's to remain to be seen. But all these answers we want now, but you can't get these answers if you're tanking. That's all I have to say, about that. But Shorts Guy, it was great to have you on. Great to see you tonight and doing the live podcast at PJ Ryan's. We'll be back there. Also, that February 1st, rumor has it that a certain reunion weekend will be that week. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's great to be back on a Sunday night. It's been a very long time, so it's been fun.
Yeah.
All right, Shorts. Yeah. So we'll talk to you later.
Wait, what?
No,
I was going to say, what, Shorts Guy, do you want to give your final thoughts before we wrap up?
My final thought is today was confusing and odd, but we can only hope for the best from here.
Yeah, I'll kind of I'll piggyback off of that. The confusing and odd and just a whirlwind of events, and it kind of shakes what this team is about right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. And to kind of answer the question that I lined up for you guys before of would you rather them finish last or tank and get a first overall pick again, or would you rather see them competitive? I'd rather see them competitive. You look at the atmosphere at the Rock tonight, and it was electric. I know some people that were there, and they said the game was absolutely phenomenal. And that's what you want as a fan. You want to go to a game with the expectation of this, our team can win, and not go to a game and with the expectation of let's see these morons go on the ice and lose another one. You want to go and have fun. That's the whole point of this. All sports is all entertainment, right? So in the end of the day, you want your team to do well. Whether they do well enough to make it into the playoffs or they don't, as long as they're competitive and as long as they're fun to watch, and right now they're fun to watch. And you know what, boys? You never know what happens. You never know if they get hot enough to sneak in and then surprise a few people. But if they don't, whatever. At least it was fun to watch. And that's all that really matters, I suppose.
All right.
Definitely. We'll see you later, Shorts Guy. Sorry, I didn't know when to transition that, Beer Baron, but I should do a better job next time.
Sorry.
I thought you were getting to the punchline, punching out, Shorts Guy, or something like that. Whoops. Boy, I've been trying to muscle and grind through this podcast and the last podcast with all the technical difficulties.
Hey, a lot of credit goes to you, Sam. You're one hell of a producer. You put on one hell of a show, and for those people out there that don't know all the things that you do, this man is a machine. For those of you that don't know, he put on a live podcast in Newark at PJ Ryan's today. Came all the way back home to an undisclosed place in New Jersey. Put on the podcast for me and Scotty to sit here and basically spew our nonsense on the air. And Sam, you do one hell of a job day in, day out. You produce one hell of a show. You give us a platform to sit here and belch out whatever we got to belch out. You got somebody from California on the other side who does a hell of a job. You're a wonderful man. And if I was on that bedpost, I would say you can have it. You can have that giant jewel. I'll go sit in the freezing water like Jack. Yeah, that jewel. Didn't you get that big old necklace?
Oh, right. Okay, you're doing. Not the jewel I thought you were talking about. Family Jewels.
Oh, the Family Jewels. All right. Anyway, Scotty, give your final thoughts there, my man.
Well, I feel like I already kind of gave my final rants. There's been a lot of rants today, but what we talked about with the team playing as a team and growing and playing well and just being in these games and seeing their progression. But also would just like to mention real quick, a big horns up in the air to Neil Peart, who we lost earlier a couple days ago, the drummer from Rush. Someone, as a drummer myself, I listened to a lot. I wasn't into Rush at first, and then my old guitarist's guitar teacher, that's all he would listen to. Once I finally started to play the drums, I actually listened to Rush with a different mindset. I blocked out the high-pitched vocals, and everything that Neil Peart used to do was just phenomenal. He's amazing. He was one of those guys where you could just watch him play. He was his own mini orchestra within his drum set. And if you ever get a chance to, I highly recommend just going to YouTube and finding some of his drum solos, especially the stuff he did when they did the Drummers Week on Letterman with the rotating stage where he would play all the different kits and everything. It's just, he was really incredible. Big horns up. Neil Peart will be missed.
Yeah, it's a funny thing that you say that. One of my other good friends who's a drummer as well was devastated by the news of that passing. It's funny how certain people in life kind of affect you in different ways, sports-wise and entertainment-wise. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
He is the most air-drummed drummer in the history of the world, man. That's it right there. Spirit of the radio, Tom Sawyer. He's the air drum king there, right?
Sammy boy, I think it's that time. We've been at this late. This is a late night one for us, huh?
It's a late night.
I know.
Thanks for everyone on the Facebook page Thanks for everyone on the Facebook page as well for hanging with us the whole entire time and for giving us your feedback on what you think of this crazy situation that was going on, because everyone's been shocked all day. So I know I've been following along with everybody here. So thank you very much for everyone that's out there and listening.
Yeah, here's my final thoughts. I'll make it quick. It was a great time at PJ Ryan's tonight. It was really, the crowds are getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we do these live events there. Special thanks to Melissa Dawn for what she does behind the scenes. Bruce Driver. I mean, it was a shock to all of us, when we went live in the venue. But the amazing thing is, our mission statement has always been promoting what's right about being a Devils fan. Sharing that news in front of a live audience at PJ Ryan's, it was like, it's something where that's the premise of this whole podcast, is three guys at a bar. And to share that news to about 100, 150 people at the bar was priceless. And no matter what happens, good or bad, whatever direction Joshua Harris wants to take the team, what the game plan is, we're all in this together. And, the organization's success is our success. And I'll leave it at that. But it was just really cool experience to announce that, even in the Twitter world, social media world, that we were one of the first people in face-to-face, not just through social media, but face-to-face, while people are eating dinner, to announce that Ray Shero had parted ways with the Devils. It was really cool, and it was really cool to see the people that came out. Well, that's all I have. I'm trying to look for the music to cue in. That's so I was trying to drag it out, but I think I got it now. But
play some 9 Inch Nails. We're in this together now, and that's what we should go out on.
Do you have the copyright for that? Actually, hey, just whoever. I just want to give. I have a little beef.
There we go. That's why I play the drums.
I have. But here's my beef. Somebody reported us to Facebook Live about the Star Spangled Banner being copyright infringement.
Boo.
and we got flagged for it, and that was just our
Really?
Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Wow.
Nerd.
Some jerk doing some jerk stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everybody who was tuning in. We'll be back soon. I know I'll be on the Woo Report and State of Fan Address in the week. Till next time, Devils fans, let's go Devils.